So welcome everybody, and thank you for attending. My name is Ken Smith. I am the co-founder and chief growth officer for Hopara. With me is our head of development, Ricardo Meyerhofer. So just a couple of housekeeping details before we begin. If anybody has any questions, please click raise your hand and we'll try and get to you as quickly as we can. If anybody would like or needs to drop off, we will be recording this session and making it available on YouTube by the end of the day. And if you do have any follow-up questions, we have a special offer at the end, including my contact information, so you can follow up with me directly. With that, why don't we just take off and we'll see how many folks come in. So let's go to the next slide, please. So just to level set everybody in terms of what an Agile Digital Twin is, we want to be sure that you understand this is not a complete digital twin. It is not a gaming 3D model where you're flying through buildings and things like that. If that's what you're expecting to see, that kind of gaming 3D environment, that's not what an Agile Digital Twin is. We do have some 3D elements to it, but to a large degree, we take those out because of the development and the maintenance time and costs and the data requirements for building those 3D models. We have significantly reduced that to provide you with 2D images and graphics and floor plans and maps, because that's all that you need at that time. When you need the 3D, we provide the 3D. But again, I just wanted to be sure that everybody understood we're not talking about a 3D fly-through gaming environment. But we're also not talking about just a KPI dashboard. Those are very good, but they get very limited in terms of the amount of data that they can handle. So we're going to sort of in that space in between the two. Next slide, please, Ricardo. So there are four primary elements. Ricardo's going to go into more detail on each one. First, we have a minimum requirement to build an Agile Digital Twin. We take a low-code approach to both building and updating. Infinite rapid adaptability, meaning we can continually update an Agile Digital Twin as you go along, unlike a traditional digital twin where once you're in your production mode, you're pretty well set. And then advanced drill down in terms of our navigation, user navigation, so that they can see and understand and gain insights as quickly as possible. So with that, let's do a quick live demo, and I'm going to have Ricardo walk you through this.
Thanks, Ken. Hello, everyone. My name is Ricardo. As Ken mentioned, I'm head of engineering at Hopara, talking from Rio, Brazil. And with no further ado, I'm going to show you a live demo of Hopara so you can get a sense of what an ADT is. For this purpose, I'm going to show a lab use case where we have a user monitoring 3 labs spread across the US. One of our goals is that you take the most of your SingleStore data, and that includes putting data in context so people can easily understand it. Everything you're going to see here is live data fetched from a database, including the number of sensors, if it's in the alert or not, and details about each equipment. So here, as I said, we have 3 labs spread across the US, and we have 1 lab in healthy state, which is lab 1. 1 is warning state, which is lab 2, and 1 is in critical state, which is lab 3. So let's drill down to investigate this further. I can easily click, and that takes me to the Las Vegas region where this lab is located. I can zoom in and see further details where I can spot data for individual rooms like this one, where we check humidity, pressure, and light, or for individual assets like this refrigerator here. At any point, I can click and get more details for it. So let's say I want to check the temperature history for this room. And this will bring me to this line chart here, where I can drill down to see a specific time frame and zoom out to get the big picture. So I'm back to my lab. Here, for example, we can see there is a power generator in alert state. Sometimes we have big machines with multiple sensors on it. And for that particular type of machines, we can show a 3D view. It's useful. So for example, here we have a power generator where we can zoom in and see details about its part. And each circle here represents a sensor. So we have this sensor here in alert state when we can click and go to see the history of this sensor. So what we've shown here is an application of an Agile Digital Twin, putting data in context, and with a few clicks going from the world view to a specific facility view, then a room, an asset, and a sensor. And how that it works in practice, how that actually integrates with SingleStore. So let's do a quick deep dive on how Hopara works. We have four major concepts. The first one is the concept of data source, where the data is coming from. For example, your SingleStore database. For prototyping purpose, you can also upload CSV and JSON files directly. And you can work with multiple data sources in Hopara. For example, if you have multiple SingleStore instances, you can create a single visualization combining them. Then we have queries. What queries is about? Data to be visualized. You express in a SQL query the tables, the columns, and the attributes you want to see in your Hopara Agile Digital Twin. Then you select the visualization. Visualization tells about projection and camera. For example, are we talking about lat long? Is it a geo visualization or just a chart? So we have arbitrary X and Y axis. How the camera should behave. As you've seen in the 3D model, the camera rotates around the object. In the geo, you're looking from upside down. So the visualization tells about the projection and camera. And then we have finally the concept of layers. How to translate the data into visuals. Okay, I have this list of sensors. They are in alert state or not. Their latest temperature is X. How do we translate that into visuals? So let's dig further into this. In terms of visualizations, we have four main types. First one is geo, when you're looking at things that have a map context. So we're talking, for example, about floor plans, like the lab just saw. We have the whiteboard. You can draw arbitrary things like process and flow charts. The 3D, where you can look at 3D machines and models, and charts for traditional charts like bar charts and line charts. So we support these four types of visualizations. Then we have the layers. The layers are added in the visualization. We have 6 types, 8 types. So we have, for example, circle. So I will represent data as a circle. Polygons, for example, to represent rooms or regions. Text, if you want to see the description of a particular asset. Icon, for example, if you want to represent an asset and an icon. Lines, which can be used to show distribution networks, for example, in a utility visualization. We have images like a floor plans or process diagrams. Models for 3D models, and Vega. Vega is a special layer which is used to render charts. Vega is a popular open source chart tool which you can use in Hopara. So let's go back to our lab example. So for example, here we talk about layers. You can see we have an overview of our labs. This is coming from this labs overview query. The query itself is a bit complicated, but output not so much. Here in the output, we can see we have the name of the lab, the location of it in terms of lat long. The alert level, 0, it means okay, 1 warning, 2 critical, the number of sensors, number of critical, number of warning. Everything you're seeing here in this rollover tooltip. And here we have 3 layers pointing to the same query. So for example, here we have the lab layer, which I will just play with the appearance here, just so you can see, which is binded to the name field. So the name field in the query is used in this layer here, where we show the lab name. And you can also say, okay, I want this to be on the top, or I want to be this in the middle, or in the center, in the exact lat long position returned by the query. Then we have an icon layer, which is this icon here, which I'll just make it larger or bigger just so you can see it and change the color of it. And then we have a circle layer on the back, which is used to show the alert state of a particular asset. I just change color here so you can see it. So by composing those layers, you can create very elaborate and complex visualizations for different purposes. Just to show you another example, building layers, we have here a water management company where we are showing the regions and how much water is flowing in each region. And we can zoom in and see the individual distribution pipes and the consumption points. Those are just the concept of layers applied to different use cases. Like, for example, here, let me play with the line so you can see it and play with the colors, etc. So everything in Hopara is a layer, and you can use your creativity to create different visualizations. And how do we integrate with SingleStore? Back in our main page, we have the data source section where we can see a number of different databases we support and our dear friend SingleStore. And to connect with SingleStore, you just click here, and if you fill in with your connection data, the name, you can name it as you like, my SingleStore database. Then you have the host port, username, password, and the database you want to connect to. All this information you can get from your SingleStore portal when you click in your connection parameters. Here I already have a SingleStore connection, which is this one, which I previously connected to Hopara. And in this SingleStore database, I have a refrigerators table. Basically, I have asset ID, longitude, latitude, and name of the asset. And I have this example here where I have no refrigerators at all. So let's use our SingleStore connection to show the refrigerators here in this example. So I'm in my SingleStore, I create a new query, and I will call it refrigerators. And this will basically query select a series from refrigerators. And I run it. You can see it brings all my refrigerator data from SingleStore. I'll just click save. That's fine. So let's come back to this visualization here, and I will create a layer. Let's call it refrigerator. And this should be an icon. And where the data come from? From the SingleStore data source and the refrigerators query. You can see immediately we are seeing the refrigerator here. All data coming from SingleStore is now represented contextually in Hopara, which is good. We already auto-filled the latitude and longitude as the position, but this icon doesn't look very good. So let's take like a refrigerator icon, which is here. And maybe we'll make it a bit smaller and a similar color to what we already have. And we have a new table, a new data set from SingleStore, easily put in context inside your Hopara visualization. Let me zoom out. You can see as I zoom out, now the visualization is a bit messy. We have the cluster layer here mixed with the refrigerator layer. So we can quickly fix that. So let me go back to the layers, and I'll put the visibility of this according to a particular zoom level. So yeah, so now it seems all good. We have, I have to tweak a bit more. Okay. So now I have my refrigerator layer here, and as I zoom out, I have my cluster layer. And that should show you how you can leverage your SingleStore data inside Hopara and take the most of it. Back to you, my friend Ken.
Thank you. That was fantastic. So just as a quick overview, we ran a user test back in 2022 to see how stakeholders engaged with a typical KPI dashboard versus an Agile Digital Twin. We asked them a series of questions, go find this, drill down on that, et cetera. And what we found was, of the 50 end users, people got to an insight 417% faster using an Agile Digital Twin. And when we asked them, which one would you like to use the next time you have a business question, an analysis that you'd like to run, what have you, 43 people said that they would prefer an Agile Digital Twin versus 7 that said they would like to go back to a KPI dashboard. It is a lot more fun. It is a lot faster. And I think people are definitely going to skew more towards our more user-friendly environment. Next slide, please. So if anybody has any questions, you can either contact Kent Redman, our CEO. There's his email. I believe he's hanging on this webinar as well. And there's my contact information as well. We have a quick start program if anybody would like to get up and going with an ADT MVP. We're not talking about a full-scale project, but we are talking about give us a basic data set and some of the media assets, and we will build for you an ADT in under 30 minutes. The cost is only a $10,000 one-time upfront fee. And if you click one more time, Ricardo, we have a special offer for SingleStore customers. First 3 authorized SingleStore developers who request a quick start are actually going to get a 50% discount on the project. So it's only going to cost you $5,000. Again, if anybody has any questions, please follow up by email. This recording will end momentarily. We'll make it available on YouTube. And I'd like to thank everybody for attending. Have a good day.
Thank you, everyone.